Mm-hmm.
When was the moment you were like, okay, this isn't just like a social drink anymore?
It had gotten out of control.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talk Fresh, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by Fiona or Fee from Inside the Ropes. So welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So if we take this back to the beginning, where do you first discover wrestling as a fan?
As a fan, right, so I'm a child of the late 70s, early 80s. Okay. So my first memory is sitting with my gran in my gran's living room down in the port. Would be the very early 80s. My gran loved it. My gran watched it on a Saturday, World of Sport. So I was kind of introduced to wrestling through Giant Haystacks and Big Daddy and Kendo Nagasaki and Rollerball Loco. Couldn't get that out there. So all of those guys, that's kind of where I figured what wrestling was. And then I kind of fell away from it when the show stopped and WWF came along. I didn't have access to cable TV or B-Sky B or whatever it was at the time. So I just kind of stopped watching it. And it was only when I must have been, I'm trying to think what year it was, but basically I remember walking along to see my friend who lived in the same street and walking in, and she'd just got B-Sky B in at the time. And her brother was watching the TV in the living room, and I walked through and I just saw these guys flying through there, and I'm like, what is this? And it was the Rockers. It was Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I must have sat down there for like an hour watching it with him, and she's up in her room going, why is Fiona not here yet? So and that was kind of it. It's kind of been a on and off again relationship since then, really.
Fair enough. So what differences did you first notice when you started watching? Because with the World of Sport stuff, that was very sort of, people in the UK will know what I'm talking about this. It's very sort of pantomime. Do you know what I mean? When I say that, you know what I mean, right?
Yep.
Very pantomime style, whereas the American stuff was more, legitimate's the wrong word, but
it was more hard-hitting, I think.
Hard-hitting, exactly, yeah. So what were some differences you noticed? I
mean, obviously I was young. I was really young when I watched World of Sport. So it was more, I don't remember much about it, to be honest, but I remember it being on the telly, and I remember my gran getting dead animated about it, which was really, really cool. It was
That's
like,
always
as a little
so
kid.
funny when I talk to people and it's like, the grandparents introduced me to this. That's why do you think you were drawn to it? Because of your nan?
What's that, sorry?
Why do you think your nan was drawn to it? And then was it the sort of thing where she showed you?
I think it had just become a thing for her, and that's what she did on a Saturday afternoon. And if my mum and dad had taken me there like to stay over or whatever, then because it was her house and that's what she did, that's what I did.
Yeah, I get you.
So I just kind of, it was just there, and it was just like, okay, this is what we do on a Saturday, and that was it.
I get you. So as we move on to sort of 92, how much, when you discovered WWF at the time and the Rockers, how much did you start consuming, or was it just that one day for a while?
So I didn't, like I said, I didn't have access to it. I literally had, I think at the time it was like 4 TV channels, might have only been the three or four. I think Channel 4 hadn't long started by this point. So I only had access to that. So really, Nicola's big brother was like 2.5 years older than us. So occasionally I would go along, and I'd go, they just lived along the street, and I'd be like, can we watch some of the wrestling with your brother? Like, she's like, you fancy my brother? No, I actually wanted to see the wrestling. I didn't fancy Derek, right? I'm just putting that out there. So I watched bits and pieces, but never really, in all honesty, I never really actually started watching until like regularly, probably until the 2000s. Like, realistically, when I had my own place and I could afford my own like cable TV, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like watching folk had videos before DVDs existed, the old VHS tapes and stuff like that, and I've probably got a couple in my shelf over there. So we would watch like a Royal Rumble or whatever, but it would be on VHS. So in terms of watching live shows and things like that, it's not something really that I did. I did know who a lot of the stars were at the time, but I couldn't tell you the storylines or anything because I wasn't up to date on it. I wasn't getting to watch it on a regular basis. So
Yeah, fair enough. So when it comes to the 2000s and you do start developing your own fandom, what are you watching at this time? What got you hooked, etc.?
that's a tough question. I kind of came in towards, it's probably towards the end of the kind of Attitude Era. So I remember seeing bits and pieces of that. I remember from when I was younger, when I was watching it maybe at Nicola's house, seeing folk like Hogan and Warrior and stuff like that and going, oh, these guys are pretty cool. But in terms of kind of later on, it was people like Shawn Michaels, who I have a love-hate relationship with because I was a Marty Jannetty fan and he put Marty through that window and I was not happy about that. So I kind of vaguely remember the whole NWO thing. I didn't really get a chance to watch the Monday Night Wars or anything like that, although I've got the DVD and it's probably one of my favourites now and I keep going back to it to watch it. I'm a huge Eric Bischoff fan, so yeah, in all fairness, I kind of almost feel like a bit of a fraud wrestling fan because I don't really know that much. I kind of take it at face value and I'll dip in and out of it and I'll watch a match and be like, that's really good, not knowing what the storyline behind it or the storyline moving forward is going to be and things like that. So I'm kind of one of these people that just, I dip in and out.
How do you... Sorry.
No, it's okay.
How do you feel like that dipping in and out, as you call it helps your enjoyment of wrestling or maybe hinders your enjoyment of wrestling?
Hinders is probably a good one to talk about. Obviously, I do the tours with Inside the Ropes. I do some MCing up here. The guys on the tours, particularly Kenny, Molly, Ollie, Jen, Dean, they are like walking encyclopedias. Absolute walking encyclopedias. So we'll be traveling from venue to venue, and they'll be talking about this and this and this, and I'm just kind of sitting driving the car going, okay, because I have no idea what they're talking about.
Fair enough.
I soak some stuff up. But in terms of helping, it means that I'm quite happy to switch. Even now, I'm quite happy to switch maybe a bit of WWE, a bit of AEW, a bit of NWA, a bit of CZW, a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of ICW up here or whatever. And I'm not like, I don't feel like I have to watch one particular brand and that's my brand. So I'm quite happy to just dip in and out of lots of different kind of brands, basically.
So if you did have to pick a brand that you're currently invested in, what is it and why?
I will not hide it. I do not hide it. I am old school NWA. I love NWA at the moment. I've kind of really watched it properly since Billy took over, since Billy Corgan took over. I think they get a bit of a hard time from a lot of the internet wrestling community and the fans and stuff. I love it because it's short, sharp and sweet. It's an hour. I've got kids. I have a full-time job. I do not have time to sit for 3 hours and watch a show a couple of times a week. So that hour is great for me. I can just switch it on and watch it and then I kind of go to my bed at night. I know quite a few of the guys on the roster there, so it's always really, really nice to kind of support people that you know and that you're invested in. So I'm an NWA girl through and through, basically, particularly in the kind of more modern era now.
Yeah, I like that because this is what this is about, discovering people's wrestling fandom, and it's very nice to not hear I don't want to call it the generic answer, but I know what I mean.
Yeah.
Of like, I watch AEW, but I think it's very cool how you've been like, wrestling doesn't consume your life. I'll put it that way.
It really doesn't.
So how do you, like, when it comes to, say you are on a tour and say, just try to pick a name out that they have done a tour on Inside the Ropes, Kurt Angle, for example, say that comes up and I assume you knew who you knew
Yeah,
who Kurt Angle
we
was, right?
worked with Kurt last year. Yeah.
Right. You knew who Kurt Angle was
Yeah,
before this.
absolutely. Absolutely.
How does that, like, the not, I'll put it this way. How much research do you have to do on people if you're not in the bubble, but you know you're going to be on a tour with them?
Honestly, I don't do any.
Fair.
I don't do any. I'm not the one that's sitting on the stage hosting the show. My job on the tours is to make sure the talent get from the airport to the hotel to the venue, and they get their dinner and they get to where they need to be. And my job is to make sure the fans get a good interaction with them on the stage at the meet and greet. So my job isn't really to know much about their job, if you see what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
I think that works really well for me, because when we are driving from Glasgow to London or Glasgow to Manchester and we're in the car for hours at a time, we're generally talking non-wrestling, just about life in general. So I don't actually do any research, and there's nobody that's come on tour that I've gone, I don't know who this person is. They're all big names, and they're folk that I've come across. So there's a lot about them that I don't know, that maybe I probably, if I was more of a wrestling fan, I would know. But I definitely don't do any research on them.
Fair enough. So then you brought up your role at Inside the Ropes. So I should have done this first, really. How do you connect with Kenny and the Inside the Ropes crew and join them?
How did I end up? Just stroke of luck, to be honest with you. It was a way back. This is now 2015, I think.
Wow.
So that was the Sting tour, and basically what had happened was I'd been helping out at my local promotion, British Championship Wrestling, up here in East Kilbride. And I had kind of fallen into a role there. I'd been going to the shows locally, and the promoter was kind of flapping a little bit at one point, maybe a year or so before, and I was like, look, do you need some help? Is there anything I can do? And he's like, well, actually, like, could you go and I need someone picked up from the airport. I can't remember who it was, but can you go and do an airport run for me? And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'll come pick them up, bring them to the show, take them back to the hotel. And that's what I started doing for him. And then Kenny happened to come along to one of the shows to flyer for the Sting tour, and had said to the promoter, oh, I really need a driver. Do you know anyone? And Graham just happened to say, well, you could ask Fiona. She does my airport runs for me. And Kenny did. And that was kind of it. The next thing I know, I'm in a car and Sting and his wife Sabine and his agent Steve were with us. And I'm like, it's Sting. Oh my God, don't crash the car.
Yeah. So obviously you brought up there that your role is sort of the getting the talent from A to B sort of thing. Do you have any interesting stories about being in a car with a particular talent?
Just honestly, there's nothing in particular other than the fact that the one that kind of sticks to mind has been Dustin, when Goldust we're in the car in Manchester. I'm driving into the hotel car park, and he was just a bit of a prankster, as Dustin, basically. And I didn't realise he'd put the window down, and we're driving up towards the entrance, and he's going, Fiona, I don't think you're going to fit in there. I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. He's like, no, I really don't think you're going to fit in there. And I was like, oh, there'll be a couple of inches, it'll be fine. And do that way, I'm like gingerly coming into the car park, it's quite tight, and he's got his hand out the window, and he just screamed bang and wallops the car one, and I was mortified. I thought I'd banged the car, and I was like, I was so embarrassed, and I was totally in a flap. And I looked over, and his agent's sitting beside me, and he's just got this look in his face, and I just happened to look in the mirror, and Dustin's in the back, creased up laughing. He's like, got you.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. So
that's about it, really, to be honest with you. I mean, I hear lots, I see lots, but yeah, the chat's always good for the most part.
Fair enough. Have you got any, I always hate doing this, have you got any bad experiences?
There was a certain, I will not name names, there was a certain person who travelled with family, and there was a couple of awkward moments in the car, perhaps, where the people in the family were having a bit of a with each other. And I was kind of stuck in the middle of it going, don't pay attention, don't listen, just keep driving, Fee.
Yeah, fair enough. So obviously, and I have been really racking my brain about how to bring this subject up. You have been very open about the fact that you've had problems with alcohol in the past, correct? You just celebrated at the start of this year, 1 year, correct? 1 year of sobriety, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
But if we take this back, what was the moment that you were like, I need help with alcohol?
So probably
actually, if you don't mind, can we go back a bit further? Like, where did you first discover like a taste for alcohol? I'll put it that way.
Okay, so I'll be completely honest here. My parents, when I was growing up, Sunday lunch, glass of wine from quite a young age. Started off with lemonade and a splash of red wine in it, and then
spritzer, sort of
basically more lemonade than wine, but then the quantities slowly changed till it was like a full glass of wine. Obviously, we're all daft teenagers. I would drink underage down the woods with my pals, a couple of bottles of cider, Mary Down or K or whatever, a half bottle of vodka when I was 16, 17. First shift in a pub on my 18th birthday. So I was always round it, always round it. And I generally had I was okay with it. I would go out and get hammered at the weekends and stuff, and then midweek you wouldn't bother, and then obviously had family and it kind of curbed that a little bit, but I'd still go out at the weekends when I could. So from a fairly young age, it's in the UK, I just kind of feel like drinking alcohol's kind of norm, and society just society almost, to me, I feel like society almost just revolves around alcohol. You want to go and see a pint, let's go for a pint, do this, let's go and have a glass of wine, and it's just life just kind of seems to revolve around it.
So if we go back to the original question, when was the moment you were like, okay, this isn't just like a social drink anymore?
It had gotten out of control, basically.
Exactly.
My boss at the time had pulled me in one day to the office and was like, sat me down, and he's one of my closest friends. Like, he's been my boss for years, but we're really, really good pals. And when he pulled me aside and was kind of like, Fiona, you're not performing. He's like that, and I've had to cover up quite a few mistakes, and I can't do it much longer. So that was a moment. And then when the kids were like, right, Mum, at the weekends, right, Mum, let's do this. And I'm like, what? Oh, well, you said the other night we could do this. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And they're like, yeah, you did. And I wasn't, my short-term memory was gone. And
because of alcohol or because of a side effect from?
I don't know whether it was because of alcohol or a side effect of the drinking, probably a bit of both, to be honest with you. I was downing like 2 bottles of wine 7 nights a week. And then getting up and going to work the next day, and financially.
So you were what is known as a functioning alcoholic, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and when
no,
it's okay. Like when the kids, or my daughter in particular, like there was a couple of nights she'd help me up the stairs and get me to bed and stuff like that, and then I'd get up and go to work the next day, and I drove to work. If I'd got stopped, I'd have been in a whole world of trouble because I needed to be able to drive for my job. And in the October, it'd be like October 2021 was kind of when my boss sat down and had a chat with me. And then I just woke up I tried to stop and I didn't. And I was just like, whatever. And then I got through Christmas and I literally woke up on the 1st of January last year and went, right, that's it. And it wasn't
cold turkey.
Yeah, cold turkey. It wasn't it's the 1st of January, let's have a New Year's resolution. I just woke up and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And it just happened to fall on the 1st of January. But I went to some counselling, I went to some meetings and stuff. They weren't for me. Counselling's been great, but the actual AA meetings were not for me. So I didn't, and I just kind of went on my own and decided to kind of document it almost. Yeah, I document it kind of weekly on my social media, and it was like 1 week sober, 2 weeks sober, and then it's 1 month. And then it almost kind of became a game. Can I get to the next milestone? And now it's almost, not quite, it's almost become the norm. Almost.
Because I know you did put out a tweet recently where, and I'm paraphrasing the tweet slightly, it was basically like, today has been the day that if I was still drinking, is that correct? I would have done a bottle of wine, right?
I had a huge wobble last week. I just had a really bad day at work. The kids were playing up. I think my mental health wasn't up there that day for whatever reason. I was tired, and that was the day that if I was probably going to drink, or the first day in a long time that if I was going to drink, I would have done it. So I got myself a workout. I took myself off out for a walk afterwards, came home, had a cup of tea, watched some Yellowstone, went to my bed, and then the next day I was okay.
Okay. So you talked about the workout and the TV shows and stuff like that. What stopped you ultimately from drinking then? Was it just putting yourself in a different headspace?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you kind of have to. I have to. If I get like that, and it's few and far between. In the early days, it was a fairly regular occurrence, and now the episodes like that are getting much more spaced out as I'm getting to grips with it. I kind of just have to remove myself from the house, or remove myself from that environment. I was so used to just sitting in the house at night with a couple of bottles of wine, that if I can take myself away from the situation and keep my mind busy. So if I'm doing yoga, or I'm doing a workout, or I'm out having a walk and I've got a podcast in or something, then it kind of keeps me occupied and takes my thoughts away from it until I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I'm okay to deal with this now, and I'll come home again.
Do you think you'll ever get to the stage where you can have like one glass of wine again? Or
possibly, yeah. What a lot of people that maybe been watching my journey don't know is that this actually happened previously to me.
Okay.
This happened previously. So it's been a long running battle for me. And many years ago. Now my daughter's 19 and she was very young at the time. She was maybe only about 2. I had an episode then where I was like, nope, that's it, and I stopped. Because it had gotten out of control as well. And then I was like, one night I was like, I'll just have a glass of wine and I'll be fine. And I kept it under, and I was able to control it, and I kept it under control for a very, very, very long time. I'm very much a never say never sort of person.
Yeah, fair enough.
What I'll say about this is a journey for me that's got no final destination, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's no end point, and it'll be what it is, basically. Who knows? I don't know. But at the moment, I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
I don't want any.
How do you maintain, like, because you brought up yourself about how it seems to be the culture in the UK where drinking is part of our social. I know you said social circle, but I knew what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, how do you maintain like social and stuff like that? But particularly when you're at wrestling shows where there's alcohol flowing and you see people at bars and stuff like that, how do you maintain it then?
It's really hard for me, really difficult, because for me, wrestling and alcohol go together. My other love's rugby, and rugby and beer go together. And when I go to that, like, and I still go to games, and even now I go to the games and I'm like, and everyone's sitting around me with a pint and I'm like, I want one. I think I would not be speaking out of turn if I said that Kenny and Jen and Molly and Ollie thought I was a mardy cow on the first tour last year when we were away. I can't even, was it Kurt the first one that we did? I can't remember which the first one was last year.
I was at that one.
I was probably a moody so-and-so because they were all obviously, but the rest of them like a vodka or whatever. And I was so used to going on tour and going back to the hotel at night with a bottle of wine and enjoying that or whatever. I found it really difficult, and I was just like, I'm away to bed, see you later. Whereas normally I'd maybe stay up. In terms of socially now, I found that I've withdrawn a little bit.
Okay.
Not that I had a huge social circle or a massive social life before. I mean, I've got kids and I work full time, and quite often my evenings are kind of quite sacred to me.
I appreciate you doing this in that case.
Just to have a chill. So I've kind of withdrawn a little bit, and I still don't quite trust myself.
Okay.
So rather than put myself in a situation where I might find it difficult, I just don't bother, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Save me a fortune.
Fair enough. As someone that, it sounds awful, goes out drinking socially, I agree with you. How do I say it? How much did Kenny and the Inside the Ropes crew know about your journey? And then how understanding were they on like that first tour when you weren't drinking?
Do you know what? They were actually diamonds, the whole lot of them. They were so kind and they were so nice to me. And they totally looked after me. And I think they understood how much of a struggle, because I'd spoken to Kenny beforehand and said, look, I'm a little bit worried about this. And he was like, you've got nothing to worry about. Don't worry, it's fine. So like they were buying me like my White Monster and things like that. Well, they were buying their carry out. There's like Monster for me or Diet Coke for me or whatever. So, and they were really, really understanding. And obviously, like I said, Molly was there, so she was good to kind of have around and be able to sit and drink a fresh orange and lemonade with in the pub after the show or whatever. So that was nice.
The internet cut out when you was talking about Molly. Just to recap, is that because she doesn't drink herself?
Yeah, so Molly's straight edge. So
Okay.
I've never seen Molly with a drink at all. So she's used to being on the tours with us when we've maybe all been hammered, and she's just like, oh, you lot, and she kind of looks after us all. But obviously with her not drinking, it was quite nice to have her there, kind of in my corner, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not that the other guys weren't in my corner.
I know what you mean, though.
But yeah.
It was nice, and the way I'll phrase it, it was nice not to be the only one not drinking.
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Whew, that was a heavy section of the interview.
Sorry.
So let's do we're going to do a segment now, a bit of a fun segment that I call generic questions. Those of you that have seen my interviews before will know this is where I ask my guests. This is wrestling talk again. Their favourite match, their favourite pay-per-view, favourite wrestling tag team, favourite theme song, and favourite wrestler of all time. Basically questions that Fiona might get asked on social media quite regularly. So now she'll have a place to be like, look, I've answered this. Please go watch
Go
this.
And see the video.
Go watch this. So what's your favourite wrestling match of all time?
My wrestling what, sorry?
Favourite wrestling match of all time?
Oh, see, now you put me... This is hard for somebody who... I think now this is when I go, right, I'm not the encyclopedia, so I couldn't tell you where or when.
I probably could, so I will help you.
Modern times?
Whatever you want to pick up.
No, I'm thinking modern times for me. One of my favourites was the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair one at Mania.
24.
Yeah.
When he retired.
Yeah, I know. I was always a Ric Flair fan, and like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with Shawn, so I enjoyed that. I should probably say one of my first WrestleManias that I actually went to, but I think I'm probably still getting over the fact that I was actually there. I can't even remember who main evented it.
What one was you at, out of curiosity?
It was 34 at New Orleans. Was it 34 at New Orleans?
That would be Roman and Brock 2.
See, I don't know these things. I'm just like, oh, it's wrestling.
No, I'm convinced I have that slight, like, just one of them brains that, like,
Kenny's the same.
But don't ask me like an actual fact about the world. Ask me a wrestling fact. I'm your guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not about me. Your favorite pay-per-view of all time?
Okay, so again, this is a hard one for me. I don't think I can pick a single pay-per-view, but the Royal Rumble in general has always always been my kind of one. Even now, I don't watch a lot of WWE, but it's the one show that I will watch. I just love the excitement of it. And lately, unfortunately, I've been a bit annoyed that there's been surprises have been leaked, and I'm just like, why? Just leave it a surprise. Oh, so and so's coming back. I don't want to know. I want to get like.
I'll be totally honest. We've discussed this, but this will be in the can for a while. But Cody's return, man, do not spoil that.
I know. I just think it's ridiculous, but I love the excitement of the Rumble. That's my thing.
I think I know the answer, but favorite wrestling tag team.
Well, growing up, it was the Rockers. Absolutely the Rockers. Like I said, huge Marty Jannetty fan. And I did actually, when we did the tour with Sean, I did sit down and have a conversation with him. I was like, you and Marty are entirely to blame for the fact that I am sitting in this room with you right now. So I did get to tell him it was his fault and Marty's fault that I was actually on the tour.
What
that was
his
kind of
reaction to that?
He just laughed. I was like, I'll never forgive you for that. And he was just like, sorry.
That's brilliant.
So of all time, the Rockers, kind of modern day now. I've not, like I said, I've not watched for a while. I love the Usos. I love Jimmy and Jay. I don't know what it is about them, but I just kind of like the energy that they've got. So I love Jimmy and Jay. We'll not go down the whole head of the table nonsense. I'm not talking about all of that, but just as a tag team, I love the two of them.
You're booking a match, the Rockers versus the Usos. Who goes over? Who wins?
Oh no! Right, so I'm putting the Rockers over.
Fair.
I'm putting the Rockers over. I'm putting the Rockers over.
Fair enough. Favorite wrestling theme song of all time?
Ooh. Of all time. There's so many good ones. So many good ones. I love Bobby Roode's Glorious. Love it. I don't know if that's my favourite, but that's the one that's kind of sprung to my head just now. I do like Randy Orton's as well. I can't remember what it's called though. That's terrible.
Voices or which one?
No, Voices.
Ah.
Yeah. But I don't know why Glorious. I'm just like.
I think that's just one of them songs that people.
It really is.
The way I phrase it is like, if that song literally came on the radio, you'd enjoy it. It's not like one of them songs that like, oh, this is definitely a wrestling song. Do you know what I mean? And then, totally. As we wrap this up, who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
I think I've got to go with Flair. I was kind of in awe of him growing up. I had the pleasure of meeting him in about 2004. He was lovely. He was a total gentleman. Eventually, he wasn't initially. It's the story there. But he was lovely. I was wearing his shirt at the time, and he honestly couldn't have been nicer. Oh, wow. He's like one of the guys that I kind of remember from when I was younger, kind of grown up. He's always been around, basically. So I'd probably say Flair. And
then, as we wrap this up, Fiona, the question that I end all my interviews on, this might be a trickier one for you because you're not really involved in the content creating sphere. But with YouTube, with podcasting, with social media in general, we're all sort of going to live forever in some sort of very, very weird way, right? So what is one piece of content from your good self that you want the good people to check out? And then what is one that you're like,
of me? Okay, so what, with me in it?
It can be with you in it. It can be an Inside the Ropes thing. It's your call, my friend.
There's so many good Inside the Ropes clips. Like so many, like some of the videos with Heyman, for example, some of the clips from the Heyman show, particularly the Heyman show that we did out in New Orleans, are incredible. So I'd probably say some of the Heyman stuff, definitely. But any of the Inside the Ropes footage from the shows have been amazing. With me, there's not a lot of me out there, as I know that you said you were like trying to find some bits and pieces, and there's nothing out there. There is one small clip, wrestling related clip of me out there in the great wide open internet, from Carneyland when
Oh, wow.
NWA, when they started doing Carneyland at COVID during lockdown.
Mm.
And I was on an episode of Carneyland on a dating show with none other than Zicky Dice,
Oh, wow.
called Entice Zicky Dice. And apparently I am not the 8 that he was promised.
Fair enough.
I did not win the t-shirt that I was supposed to win, and he cut me off because apparently I broke kayfabe. So so that's actually a good giggle. It's a good wee segment. So yeah, if you want to see me on a wee wrestling related thing, go and check out like one of the first episodes of Carneyland from NWA.
I think that's a beautiful way to end this conversation, if I'm honest. So where can the good people find you and all your content?
Well, not so much on the content front. I am at Trixie Licks on Twitter and at Trixie_Licks on Instagram. Most of the posts on there are probably workout posts or mental health posts or alcohol posts, and sometimes food that I've cooked. So not overly exciting, but you never know. Sometimes there's wrestling stuff on there as well.
It's well worth doing, guys. So if you guys like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talk Trash. Follow me on Twitter at Tom Talk Trash, and I will see you in the next interview. A goodbye now.